Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are diving straight into the mechanics of gaming VPNs. It's one of those topics that just sparks endless, heated debates in the competitive gaming community. Specifically, we're going to break down a source that actually put a gaming VPN, XVPN, to the test in the real world. Because let's be honest, we don't want to just regurgitate marketing hype here. We want to look at the actual hard data and the underlying routing mechanics to see exactly how a tool like this impacts your connection and ultimately your gameplay. So, let's address the elephant in the room. It's the ultimate gamer skepticism, right? There's this huge widespread belief, honestly more of a myth at this point, that using a VPN is like, I don't know, magically teleporting your data all the way around the globe. And because of that, it absolutely must ruin your ping and skyrocket your latency. Well, today, we're putting that myth under the microscope. We're going to look at what really happens to your data packets when they go through a dedicated gaming service compared to just your standard internet service provider. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our agenda for today. First, we'll look at the gaming ping problem. Second, how route optimization actually works. Third, those real-world VALORANT test results. Fourth, a few bonus security features. And finally, we'll weigh it all out and ask, is it actually worth it? All right, Section 1, the gaming ping problem and the invisible lag issues behind it. Look, if you've ever played a competitive shooter, you definitely know the frustration. Your ping looks super low on the scoreboard, but the actual gameplay, it feels terrible. You're whiffing shots and you feel like you're literally a half second behind everyone else. Well, the source highlights a perfect example of this invisible culprit, which is known as processing delay. Basically, on your screen, your network RTT, your standard ping, might look super healthy, sitting at like 47 milliseconds. But your actual processing delay, the real time it takes for your data packets to be handled, could be lagging way behind at 66 milliseconds or even higher. This invisible delay is exactly why we struggle in gunfights, completely unaware that our network path is just quietly failing us in the background. And man, it gets so much worse depending on the time of day. The source points out that during the evening hours, when internet traffic in your city or neighborhood gets super heavy, those congested ISP routes can cause your processing delay to absolutely spike up to 80 milliseconds or more. When that happens, your gameplay just turns into sludge. You go from this snappy, responsive game to feeling like you're literally running through molasses, and it's all just because of heavy traffic on your normal internet route. Moving on to Section 2, how route optimization works to bypass all that congestion. So if your standard congested ISP routing is the problem here, what's the technical fix? Well, think of your internet connection like a daily commute on the highway. Standard ISP routing is basically like taking the main highway right at rush hour. It's totally congested, overloaded, and your data is just sitting there stuck in traffic. What XVPN does, according to the source, is act like a real-time GPS. It actively redirects your data off that jammed highway, intelligently rerouting your packets through cleaner, much faster hops using their own dedicated servers. It basically just bypasses the awful paths your ISP naturally defaults to. So, what does this look like for you, the user? First, you just select a VPN server that's physically close to your actual game server. Second, the VPN analyzes the current network routes. Third, it connects you to the best, most optimized hop. Now, the source points out a really interesting detail here. When you first hit connect, you actually might see a tiny, brief spike in delay for just a second, but almost immediately, step 4 kicks in, and your ping completely stabilizes as your packets start hitting the game server way more efficiently. And that brings us to this crucial quote from the source that really hits the nail on the head. It doesn't force your location. It simply optimizes the path. See, if you change your public IP address to Ireland or the UK, you aren't magically teleporting your VALORANT traffic to Europe. You are just accessing cleaner network paths to reach your destination. Understanding that difference between your public-facing IP and your actual underlying game routing, that is the whole key to getting why this tech works without inherently ruining your ping. Okay, Section 3, the real-world VALORANT test. Let's look at some empirical evidence. Theory is great and all, but we need to see the real numbers. So let's set the scene for this test. Our tester was based out of Badabad Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan, connecting to VALORANT servers in Dubai and Bahrain. And just to paint a picture, they humorously noted they were stuck in a freezing cold room, curled up in a super uncomfortable chair for this. But jokes aside, the most important part is that they provided continuous, completely unskipped footage, so we know the data we're looking at is fully transparent. And the data itself is genuinely fascinating. During a period of heavy traffic, the tester connected XVPN to the Dubai and Bahrain servers. The data showed that within seconds, literally seconds of readjusting those routes, the processing delay plummeted back down to a totally normalized level, right around 60 milliseconds. The bullet registration stabilized, and all that shaky, sluggish movement just vanished. The routing optimization visibly, measurably fixed the game during peak congestion. But, okay, we have to be totally impartial here. Which brings us to the big caveat. The source makes this abundantly clear. If your standard ISP routing is already super clean and uncongested, you are not going to see a massive difference. VPN performance completely depends on your specific ISP, your physical distance from the server, and how good your existing routes are. If your normal route is fine, a VPN is not going to work miracles for you. It's specifically a tool to bypass messy, unstable routing. All right, moving to Section 4, let's look at the bonus security features beyond just the gaming stuff. So, while route optimization is the main event here, XVPN is still fundamentally a cybersecurity tool, and it's got a few really standout features. Split tunneling is an absolute game changer for gamers. It lets you route just your game traffic through the VPN, leaving Spotify or Discord running on your normal connection. It also throws in browser protection against phishing and trackers, which actually works even when the VPN itself is disconnected. Plus, you get dedicated webcam protection and a built-in dark web monitor. Real quick on the pricing tiers too, they do offer a free basic plan if you just want to test the waters, but some of the more advanced features are locked behind their premium plan. For example, their ad blocker, which blocks those super intrusive tracking scripts and actually speeds up your page load times. That is exclusively a premium feature. Actually, the source shared a pretty wild real-life story about that dark web monitor. They plugged their email in, and the tool immediately flagged that their info was caught up in a quiet data breach on a popular site. But thankfully, because they had two-factor authentication turned on, and because the monitor alerted them fast enough to instantly change their password, they completely avoided getting locked out of their accounts. It's just a really solid reminder of why proactive monitoring is so crucial these days. Finally, Section 5. Is it actually worth it? Let's talk value and trade-offs. Okay, we've seen the mechanics, the test results, and the features. Now we evaluate the trade-offs, and the source lays this out very neutrally. If your absolute top priority is extreme, completely untraceable anonymity, an extreme privacy VPN is probably your best bet, though be aware it will likely hike up your game ping. On the flip side, XVPN is heavily tailored for gaming. It prioritizes low latency and stable routes. Yes, it still uses standard AES 256 encryption and a strict no-logs policy, but its whole engineering focus is keeping your frame rate smooth, not trading all your speed for absolute anonymity. As for the price tag, the premium plan is heavily discounted down to around $299 a month. But the really important thing here is the 30-day money-back guarantee. And considering that big caveat we talked about earlier, this guarantee is kind of essential. It lets you test the VPN totally risk-free on your own setup. If your ISP is already great and you don't notice a difference, you just grab a refund, no harm done. Which leaves us with this final thought. As gamers, we spend so much time obsessing over our aim, tweaking our hardware, and staring at our base ping numbers. But after unpacking all this today, I really want you to ask yourself, is your current invisible ISP routing the actual reason you're getting processing delay and whiffing your shots? It honestly might just be the missing link in your setup. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the tech behind your games. Catch you next time.